I've always been like a very type A, scheduled, time management person, and that's always felt very comfortable to me. And getting thrown into having a newborn and a 1-year-old was just wild. So I started, getting postpartum anxiety about it. I just felt out of control of my own life.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Moms with Benefits. I'm Samantha Saxby, your host today, and I am here with Emily Higgins. Hello, Emily.
Hello, how are you?
I am doing great. How are you today?
Good.
Awesome. Well, I'm so excited to hear more about your journey into motherhood. And so I want to dive right into it. Right now, I know you have two kids, two boys, year and a half and 2.5 years old. You are married and you have had quite the journey when it comes to a work-life balance, I would say, through the last couple of years. So I kind of want to start from the beginning and ask you, before kids, before your two wonderful, amazing boys, what was work life balance for you? Like, how would you have defined an awesome work life balance day?
Absolutely. So before kids, work was very different than it looks now. I was in an office at an agency. I loved my job. It was very creative and fulfilling, and I worked with great people. I was surrounded by people very similar to me, unmarried, without kids, but it was very demanding, expected to be there every day. Days off were kind of, you felt guilty asking for them, that type of thing. And kids were rare there. One or two people had them, but it was not the norm. And then COVID happened, and we started working from home, and still same kind of work life balance. It felt great because we were at home. I took out the commute part of my day, so I got a couple hours back there. I got pregnant during COVID, and I kind of knew once I got pregnant that work was going to be looking a lot different after that, since COVID was one of those unexpected things where daycare was not a thing. People weren't comfortable coming to your house to babysit. So the childcare situation changed, different than what we thought it was going to look like before we got married and had kids during COVID. So had my child, I decided the best thing to do was to keep working from home. And ultimately, I had to kind of work with my baby at that point because, like I said, childcare wasn't exactly the options we have now. So I told my boss that I needed to go freelance because, in all fairness to him, he doesn't want to pay me to change diapers and put my kid down for a nap and feed him lunch. So freelance hourly was definitely what I had to do at that point, and it worked out really well. I really
So,
liked being able.
so if I can stop you there. So to confirm, you COVID hit, you had your first baby, and you felt a guilt and you felt like you couldn't give your full attention to your standard agency job. And so you said, I need to still make money, but not through the standard 9 to 5 job. I want to try freelancing.
Yep, exactly. I didn't think a 9 to 5 was really what I could do anymore because it was really getting in work hours before the baby woke up, while he was napping, after he went to bed at night. Like, it was just not 9 to 5 anymore at all. It was all spread throughout the day in little spurts. And I mean, totally understandable for agencies. Like, that just doesn't fly in the corporate world. So that was kind of a graceful transition from corporate world to freelancing. Ultimately, the agency didn't jive well with the freelance lifestyle. So I ended up switching companies. I had multiple clients of my own, but there was one company that I did most of my hours for, and they were saints about the mom working from home life. I would be sitting in meetings with a screaming child on my lap, trying to talk, like not even on mute, like actually trying to have conversations with my creative director, and not once did he ever complain. So it was just a very welcoming mom lifestyle that I needed. And it totally redefined work life balance for me, because work life balance before was like devoting myself to my work. And then my priorities shifted. And right from the get go, I said, hey, my child is my priority. Like, I'm happy to do this work and I love it. It's creative. It is what I love to do. But my kid will always come first before it. And they were totally okay with that. And that was what I needed.
That's amazing. So it sounds like, I think first and foremost, flexibility was the biggest way you could make the hours add up to get the work done
Yes.
because you were working at various times of day, right? Because you don't you don't drive the schedule anymore, the baby does. And then having a supportive leader at work to respect that you were a working mom and to embrace that that is part of the value that you bring to the company, that feels like it also helped you work and still feel respected and valued that you were a working mom. Does that resonate with you? Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I receive equal praise now as I did when I was at the agency. I feel as valued at both places. I just knew that before working full time, that wasn't the right environment for me. So now I'm in a different environment with different leadership, and I think most of the people at the company honestly are married with kids. Like it's a different age set, it's a different type of worker. So for me it's like you have to find the pond that you're meant to swim in. You know what I mean?
Totally, totally.
Yeah,
Or you're the plant and you need to blossom. Like if you're not blossoming,
exactly.
you got to plant yourself somewhere else. And
Exactly.
yes, yes. No, I love that. I love that. So you found your groove, it sounds like, after kid number one, and then we have kid number two come around the corner. Talk to me about that transition.
Yes, kid number 2 came very quickly. They're 14 months apart. So that first year of my older son's life, I was a pregnant work from home mom with a child on my lap, and then I took a pause for a few months to have my second son, and then there was no way I was going back to working with 2 children on my lap because you can't type on a keyboard with no hands. So, so I knew at that point we had to start looking into like the babysitter daycare route. I still wasn't comfortable with daycare at that point yet. I knew I was going to be, but at that point with, illnesses the past couple of years have just been kind of crazy, like people entering back into society. And I just wasn't ready for daycare. So for a year then, until my older son turned 2, they had a nanny, and I was able to work while they were here. They were upstairs, they were separate. I did not see them during the day. I hid from them on purpose. But I kind of like I kept my eye on them. They were still in my bubble, staying healthy. And then when the baby turned 1, we started looking into daycares, and that's where they are now. And it's the most quiet my life has ever been.
Wow.
And it's all good. They're happy there. They're thriving with their new little friends. It's great. My meetings are quiet. I feel like an adult again. So the progression has been great. It's really, and now that I have quiet time from 9 to 5 to actually work, I'm able to get those hours in. I'm not the type of person to like sit still and do nothing though. So now my like 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. window and my 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. window, I filled with my new entrepreneurial journey. I can't sit still. I'm not that type of person. So I'm still working weird hours, but now I have a second work to do.
So you're trying to pack everything you can in still to your hours in the day.
To my own fault, yes.
So it kind of is tied to my question, which I feel like you may be answering just by bringing that up. But what continues to drive you to want to work and work in many different avenues? You have this freelancing, you have a new initiative of this new app that I know we're going to talk about. So why, just why? Why do you do it?
I have always had a strong work ethic and been super motivated to work. I personally have been working since I was like 14 or 15. And that's because when I was like 11 or 12, I think, my mom decided to open her own cat hospital, like a veterinary clinic just for cats, which at that time was like kind of unheard of. But she had this dream, like she had always just loved cats and she just wanted to practice on cats, and she was like, well, it doesn't exist, so I'm just going to make it. And she did. And like she just I watched her for years build this business, and she poured herself into it like all through my teen years. Like she was talking to clients on the weekends at night, and it never like I'm not saying that in a bad way. It never bothered me. It was just like admirable to me how hard she works. So like it's just been in my brain. I'm like, moms work hard. The end.
I
I
love
don't
it.
know any different.
I love that. I love that so much. So you really were inspired by your mom. Do you feel like as a kid you knew it at the time, or did it take becoming a parent to be like, oh, what did I see my mom do growing up? And it's kind of refueled your passion for work and out there?
I kind of feel like I was old enough that I started to know it at the time.
Okay.
Think because I was 11, 12, I was starting to, hang out with other people, see how other families worked. And there were like the stay at home moms. There were some of my friends, like if you ask them what their mom did, they'd be like, I don't know. They go to work. Like I was never that. I'm like, yes, like my mom does this and she loves doing this and she pours her heart and soul into it. So just like from a kid, I just knew like, I was like, I want to be that. That's my role.
Yeah. And it almost sounds like you were taught by your mom, who sounds incredible, by the way, that work can be passionate and rewarding and it takes dedication, but it's worth it.
Oh, absolutely. She was kind of the first one I saw to work in something she was passionate about. Like I can't think of anybody else growing up that was like, "Oh yes, I love my office job. I'm so passionate about sitting at a computer." You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, people can have cool jobs." Like it wasn't like, "Oh, you're going to go be an accountant when you grow up." I'm like, what like creative arts can I get into?" Which is what kind of got me into website design. I started doing art classes in high school. I was introduced to design there. I just knew I wasn't going to do like quote unquote boring work. Passion work.
Do you feel like your approach to work has changed since becoming a mom at all?
Yeah, definitely. I think in this is going to sound contradictory. First, I kind of put work more on the back burner, but I'm now working harder and something I'm more passionate about, which is the app that we've talked about. My kids will always come first, and that was obviously different from before because I mean, all my hours of my day I was just like, yes, here, I'll work. I will make creative cool websites and this is going to be great. And now I'm like, okay, like I do love creating websites, but it's paying the bills right now. That's what I do during the day. But now when I work on the app, that like I could stay up all night working on it. And me fitting that into all my free time isn't a chore to me. Like it's never, oh, I have to go do work. It's like, yes, I get to go work on the social media, the advertising. Like I get to do all these super cool things. I've never started a business before, so it's even a whole new part of work to me. Like it's a new type of creative. Like I got the design out of the way in the beginning and now it's like this whole new world to me and it's so exciting.
So, on paper, you are a mother with two kids under three who just decided to invest and start a new business for this app that you are passionate about. On paper, that sounds scary, right? But in talking to you and both during our chat live here as well as before, your passion just instantly comes through. And I feel like your passion, because of the nature of this app that you're creating, is focused on moms. I would love you to share more about that, one. But two, do you feel like your passion has come from the fact that you are a fresh mom and you need what you're creating? Like your mom and your journey to motherhood has empowered you to be where you are today, that you are the person to provide this tool to other moms?
Absolutely. I'm actually really glad you said like doing it now as a fresh mom because I literally said to my husband at some point in the past year, I said, I think if I had waited even like 6 months to do this app, I wouldn't have done it. I think you become so detached from being a new mom and from those early postpartum days that you kind of forget. Like even I'm like my younger son is only a year and a half, but even I'm kind of starting to forget the hard, which is what fueled the idea of the app, you know? So even though it felt a little bit insane to start this app when I had a 6-month old and a not even 2-year old yet, I'm really glad I did it when I did, because it was when I had him, I started to get a little more out of control with my life. Like I basically had two babies. I had a 1 year old and a newborn. And so like nothing in my life was in control anymore. My schedule, there was no schedule. Schedules don't exist. I've always been like a very type A scheduled time management person. And that's always felt very comfortable to me. And getting thrown into having a newborn and a 1 year old was just wild. So I started, getting postpartum anxiety about it. I just felt out of control of my own life because I wasn't in control. These two babies were. And two things happened simultaneously that led to this app. To be honest, one, I started actually posting about the postpartum anxiety and the struggles on social media. And so many people messaged me and were like, hey, I'm going through the same thing. And so I personally didn't realize like how common it was to feel absolutely out of control in early postpartum. And I kind of had this little like village of moms in my Instagram DMs that I could always talk to. So that was one thing that was really cool that was happening. At the same time, I started really focusing and being like, all right, I need something. Like I need a tool to help me get my routine back, to figure out how I can structure my days a little bit better, just to help me keep track of my life. Like I was forgetting things and I was not a forgetful person before. I wanted to jot down how I was feeling each day. So I started looking for tools, and I was looking for something specifically to moms, because even though tools like reminders and routines, like anybody can use those, I feel like there's something to be said for catering to moms. Like there's a language there. Like there's a nurturing, encouraging language that moms need. Like moms are very fragile, and like sometimes you just have to be softer and encouraging and like, you're gonna be okay. And I found nothing. Like I could not find a tool to help with any of this. So I was like, I'm going to do it. I need to do it. Like, if there are this many moms all in the same boat, I have to do it. Like, this is going to help moms. And I know I'm not in the best position to do it right now, but if I don't do it now, it's not going to get done. So that is how MamaMode came to be.
I love that so much. And for those of you that didn't catch that, that would be MamaMode is the app name. And we are so excited for it to launch. It's launching in January 2024, right?
Yep, January 1st.
Okay, awesome. So I can't wait to personally check it out. And I also just want to add to your story about, you were saying that you were in the thick of it and you felt this urge to make this app. I would say the same thing happened to me personally with this Moms with Benefits podcast. I have an 8-month-old. He's 8 months today, actually. And it was probably 2 months ago. And I just felt like I had my mom village and my people, the moms in my DMs that I could count on and I could text, but it just felt like I needed people to talk to about going back to work and like, how does that balance work? And there's so many different ways that moms can do it, and like jigsaw the calendar together, and there's so many options to make it work, but figuring out like, why do you want to make it work? What are your goals? And then how do you actually do it, and how do you figure out, how do you know if it's working, how do you pivot it a little bit? It just felt like, why can't we just talk to other moms and learn how they did it, and in real time be a resource for other moms that are trying to figure it out? So I do think that there's like this secret power postpartum that when it can be channeled to what you feel like you could uniquely add to the world, like that's powerful. And I love that you experienced that with the MamaMode app.
Absolutely. And you too. I'm so glad we're here right now talking about it, because
We do.
I agree. We need more. We need more of this. We need more talk. We need to know that we're all going through the same thing. And I feel like no matter how you decide to go back to work, like you're going to feel like it's the wrong way. But if it's working for your family, it's the right way.
Yes.
Like there's no black and white when it comes to moms going to work.
Totally.
None at all.
Totally. And that's why like we need a way to talk about all the different options, because it's a lot to figure out on top of every single thing that you're also trying to figure out as a mom. Your body's healing. You got babies pulling on your hair, like you screaming, like it is a lot. And so how can we help? So I'm glad we are kindred spirits here. So let's dive into the next thing I want to talk about with you is finances. So at Moms with Benefits, we love to have a special lens on our finances, because as working moms, we are bringing in an income to with the family, whether you're the financial leader of the family or part of the income stream. There are additional things to think about when you're a working mom. So, when you and your husband tackle your finances, Emily, how do you two approach that?
So we're very lucky in that he's kind of our financial rock right now. He has his 9 to 5 salaried job. We always know what he's bringing in. I'm the crazy one. Not crazy. I'm the fluctuating one with my freelance. I mean, it's always, there's like a minimum that I've always hit, but it varies. So there's months where I could make like $2,000 to $3,000 more than the month before or less. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
I'm the variable in the experiment, and he's the the consistent one. So and in full transparency, with starting an app, I have also dug us into a hole. So right now, finances are very different than they have been in the past. We are a little chaotic in that area, in that right now we're keeping our head above the water, and that's it. And right now, that's okay. Like, we know we have this business launching, and we're hoping that that starts to bring in another stream of revenue. But there's been times where we're not just keeping our head above the water, we're thriving, and I'm not doing crazy projects that cost tens of thousands of dollars. So I think with us, it's just always been flexibility has been key. We have never like wrote a consistent line in our finances, if that makes sense. I'll take 100% of the blame for that. I think if it were up to my husband, we would have 2 salaried incomes and we would know exactly where we stand. But that's just not fun, and that wouldn't be that wouldn't be following our dreams, would it? So
I love it. I love it. So, you two, I think it's easy, I would say, from a bird's eye view of feeling like, oh, I have 2 kids under 3 years old in your case, and I need to know the exact income and outcome. And you can kind of easily get stressed about finances. But it sounds like your perspective is, okay, we have enough to cover the bills. And me and my husband are working as a team. And we know that we're kind of in a temporary season of young kids. We don't have everything figured out, and we have this new business venture, but like, that you're going to continually check in with each other and make it happen. And so there's a little bit of freedom in that too, to say, don't be too stressed in the short term, right? Because it's going to work out in the long term. You trust yourself to make sure it's going to work out in the long term.
yeah, absolutely. And I honestly wouldn't make any of these choices without trusting myself. Like, if I really thought we would not be okay financially, I wouldn't do anything. But the way we have everything structured is my husband pays for like our set big, like, for instance, he pays the mortgage, he pays the bills, and I pay for childcare and more of the fluctuating things because I'm fluctuating. And so with childcare, which is now bigger than our mortgage, side note,
Should do a whole episode on that.
right? Right. So with childcare, with freelancing, like, I know that if it looks like the next month we're going to be tight, like with freelancing, I can pick up extra hours. So I do have a little bit of a pulse on that. I personally, like right now, I don't have the hours because I've been pouring every minute of my life into MamaMode. But if I had to, I could dial back and do paid work and get us to where we need to be. So although I make it sound wild and crazy, like, I do have a little bit of a pulse on just making sure that we do keep our head above the water, like,
Yeah.
in that way.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think I love when you said that you trust yourself. Like, do you feel like you trust yourself more since you become a mom?
Yeah, and I think I trust myself because now I have these 2 little humans that rely on us. Like, I wouldn't make a crazy decision that would affect their livelihood at all. Like, I would never do anything that could take a roof from above our head. So I think becoming a mom has kept me more centered in that way, and just doing a lot more calculations in what I decide to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And to pull the thread on this a little bit, do you feel like when you trust yourself, is it a visceral gut reaction, or are you more of like a logical pro con list type of thinker, maybe a little bit of both? How do you feel like you're like, yeah, I got this?
I think in everything aside from the app, I'm a little more logical. I'm like, all right, can we take a cool vacation this year? And I do the math. But with the app, it just felt right. Like it was just, this is something that moms need. And there are a lot of moms in the world. And so I was like, I think we're going to be okay. Like I trust myself. I just feel like if I do this right, then we'll be okay. So that's another reason why I literally pour every second I have into making sure I'm doing it right, because I want it to be right for the moms that are using it. Like they deserve tools that are done correctly and are actually helpful to them. And then I also owe it to myself to not waste an entire year of my life and finances into a project that I'm like going 50% on. So
Totally.
got to go all in.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And honestly, I had a similar gut, just I need to do this when it comes to the Moms with Benefits community. And I'm so happy that I just kind of trusted my gut and blinked, and here we are. So
Absolutely. I'm glad you trusted your gut too.
oh, thank you. All right. So we have our fun little outro game that I'm going to do with you to close out our conversation. So I am going to list a bunch of words, and I want you to name the first emotion that comes to mind when I say that word.
Okay.
There are no right answers. There are no wrong answers. There are just answers, and emotions come and go. So no judgment to be attached to these. So the first word is kids.
Love. Oh, that was my first word. That was
Oh, it was so sweet. You can't see her face, but her face was like sunshine. That was so cute. Okay, second word, pregnancy.
Oh, no words came to mind. Does that mean something? I'm kind of in this spot where, and I'm going to go off rail here for a sec. I'm in a spot where I'm like, oh, I never want to be pregnant again, but I want to be pregnant again, like right now. So I think that's why my brain came up blank. I think that just confirms that I'm still in this, yes, I want to be pregnant. No, I never want to be pregnant again area. So
you're teetering. Yeah. I think a lot of moms can relate to that, so that's okay. Third word, working mom.
Power. I feel like working moms are powerful. Like we get it done in all aspects, 24/7. We just get it done.
Heck yeah. Mental load.
Oof, heavy. Very heavy, which goes back to what I've been working on the whole last year.
Finances.
Messy. Right now, messy.
All right. Two more. Benefits or insurance.
Right now, I'm mad at my husband's insurance. So, mad.
Fair enough. And last one, the future.
Positive. I feel like that was the first word, like positive or bright. Like I really feel like great things are coming for all of us.
That's amazing. I love the energy, Emily, and I love the story into motherhood and the passion that you use to create the MamaMode app. So thank you so, so much for joining us. And we can't wait to check out that app, MamaMode.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me. There's nothing I love more than discussing mom things. So this was amazing. Thank you.
Moms with Benefits is on a mission to empower moms for the financial impact of motherhood. If you're a mom willing and even excited about sharing your journey and challenges with other moms, we'd love to have you apply to be a guest on our podcast. Go ahead and follow us on Instagram at momswithbenefits.org, and our application is linked right in our bio. P.S. We see you, Mama. You're working hard today, and you are doing great.